The Lawful Remedy to Tyranny. Workbook. Richard Walbaum. Copyright 2012 Richard Walbaum. All rights reserved. Rev. 052912. www.naturallawremedy.com. Contact info@naturallawremedy.com. Richard Walbaum. Introduction and Disclaimer. This workbook fulfills the need for a succinct legal theory and step-by-step procedure to apply the principles laid out in the book The Lawful Remedy to Tyranny (LRT), and serves as its companion. It points a direction or indicates a path, and even though it is laid out as a step-by-step procedure, use your common sense. This is a work in progress, and your experiences will be incorporated if you would like to share them. Citations are made to the book for reference. The material contained herein and in LRT represents the author's opinions. It would be prudent to seek legal advice. If there are any laws that make presenting this material illegal, you are hereby required to waive the protection of said government or law. If you do not agree, do not read or use this material. The reader, by reading or using this material, agrees to be responsible for any consequences from the use of this material, including but not limited to losses of any type, and to indemnify and hold harmless the author, including reasonable attorney's fees. What is natural law? Natural law is the law of cause and effect that underlies all of creation, but in the current context natural law encompasses those laws underlying man's inherent nature and social behavior. Natural law is not man-made. Man-made bodies of law such as common law, administrative law, and equity, must conform to natural law. And why must they conform? For the same reason you don't pour water into your gas tank, or drive nails with a screwdriver. It creates problems. You could even say that a gas engine has a right to gasoline, and a nail a right to a hammer. Man has a right to laws in accord with his God-given nature. The nature of the right determines the governing law, and laws contrary to nature are void to the extent of the violation. The fundamental theory of natural law. The natural law principles, as stated by various scholars from our natural law tradition, can be grouped into the following 5 categories. 1. Laws must be just. 1. 2. Laws must be reasonable and not arbitrary. 2. 3. Laws must be enacted for and serve the common good. 3. 4. Laws must treat all equally. 4. 5. Litigation of laws must exercise procedural fairness. 5. The real genius is in how these natural law principles were implemented in our system, by a presumption of liberty. 6. Which obeys the following 3 rules. 1. The law can go no further than necessary to remedy the perceived harm. Absent harm, there can. 1 C. Sec. 38 of LRT. 2 C. Sec. 39 of LRT. 3 C. Sec. 40 of LRT. 4 C. Sec. 41 of LRT. 5 C. Sec. 42 of LRT. 6 C. Sec. 48 of LRT. 2. The Lawful Remedy to Tyranny, Workbook. Be no law. 2. The law must be tailored for minimal intrusion on individual liberties. 3. Where possible, the law must harmonize diverse interests. With these rules, the result is, absent harm, there can be no legislation, and the rights of individuals and society are protected. This makes us a free country. Point 7. Is the right you are claiming a natural law right? Determining whether the right you claim is in fact a natural right would seem to be a key question. How do you know if what you want to do is a natural right? 8 early scholars relied on scripture for their source of rights. Later scholars based their decision on right reason in accord with nature. Hugo Grotius, universally acknowledged by scholars as the author of the modern law of nations, wrote, "The very nature of man is the mother of the law of nature," which he defined as a dictate of right reason, which points out that an act, according as it is or is not in conformity with rational nature, has in it a quality of moral baseness or moral necessity, and that, in consequence, such an act is either forbidden or enjoined by the author of nature, God. 9. Cicero wrote that, "True law is right reason in agreement with nature. It is a sin to try to alter this law, nor is it allowable to attempt to repeal any part of it. We need not look outside ourselves for an expounder or interpreter of it, and there will be one master and ruler, that is, God, over us all, for he is the author of this law, its promulgator and its enforcing judge." 10. Saint John Chrysostom, Patriarch of Constantinople, found natural law expressed through man's conscience. He said, "From the beginning of things, when God created man, he implanted within him the natural law." And what is this natural law? Conscience has revealed it to us and has given us the notion of right and wrong. 11. Grotius, Cicero, and Chrysostom argue that by using right reason in agreement with nature, we can determine if a law is in accord with our own nature, natural law. As a part of nature, we need only look within. We refer back to ourself as the source of our nature, the knower of right and wrong. But there is another approach we can take that doesn't require answering the question of whether a claim to natural law is legitimate or not. It is not possible for a lawmaker devoid of divine intelligence to know with certainty whether a law is in accord with natural law, and the only way to minimize possible infringement upon the will of God is to follow the presumption of liberty described in the previous 7. By arguing natural law, we are throwing out the presumption of constitutionality, see Sec. 52 of LRT, as being incompatible with natural law. This presumption was created by the O'Gorman and Caroline cases of the 1930s, wherein laws are presumed to be constitutional and beyond review by the courts. We are replacing it with the presumption of liberty in effect for the 150 years prior to adoption of the presumption of constitutionality. Furthermore, the Supreme Court had no right or power to change our form of government. 8 C. Sec. 76 of LRT. 9 C. Sec. 33 of LRT. 10 C. Sec. 34 of LRT. 11 C. Sec. 34 of LRT. 3. Richard Walbaum. Section .12 Because God is the sovereign over government, government does not have jurisdiction to violate any natural, meaning God-given, right. No one would argue that it is all right to violate God's will. 13. If you fight the government in their sandbox playing by their rules, you can expect to lose. It has been designed that way, that is why they are boldly attacking raw milk and food. For the government, there is no legal remedy to natural law, they have no sovereignty over it. This is a sandbox that government is unfamiliar with, who does not know how to deal with law that recommends disobedience. 14. Applying the theory, never ignore a letter from government. Be sure right from the beginning that you follow the rules laid out by the Supreme Court if you want to be able to eventually appeal your case to the Supreme Court. 15. For example, the court will not hear friendly disputes. If you are arguing your right to bear arms, go put a gun on, go to the police station, and then ask them what they are going to do about it. Note, you have no right to a hearing by the Supreme Court, who only hears about 1% of the cases presented to it. The appellate court is the final court of appeal by right. Step 1. Examine the statute, administrative law, and constitution, state or federal, carefully to verify that you are breaking the law as the government claims. It could be they are making it up, expecting that you will not read the law, or they are just wrong. If they are violating your rights under color of law, you have recourse to 18 U.S.C. 241 or 242, 16 or 42 U.S.C. 1983 for a civil rights action. 17. Step 2. Decide whether or not the government's law is just, reasonable and not arbitrary, is enacted for and serves the common good, treats all equally, exercises procedural fairness, goes no further than necessary to remedy the perceived harm, and is tailored for minimal intrusion on personal liberties. Clearly identify the issue. If the written law is contrary to natural law, then it is no law at all, and disobedience may be the proper remedy. Step 3. Before you assert your right via disobedience, anticipate what can happen and prepare for it. If you have a group, do some brainstorming. Plan your action. Decide what remedy you will use. A. First Amendment religious free exercise allows you to utilize scripture from whatever religion. You have to be able to prove in court that you have truly and sincerely held religious beliefs based on duty to God, supported by study. You don't have to prove your beliefs, only that you believe them. 18 and what you want to do has to tend to good order. 19 You cannot use your 12 C. Sec. 21 and 48 of LRT. 13 Many, if not all, states pay tribute to God in their constitution, rendering any question of his authority moot. Check your state constitution. 14 For those who argue that Romans 13 advocates obeying illegitimate civil authority, see Sec. 44 of LRT. 15 See Appendix H of LRT. 16 Not covered in LRT is how to initiate a criminal action. If the district attorney will not prosecute, there should be a way to get it before a grand jury because it is in our history. See http://n/wikipedia.org/wiki/grand_juries_in_the_united_states. 17 See Appendix M of LRT. 18 See Sec. 75 of LRT. 19 If what you want to do already tends to good order, is there any good reason why it could be prohibited? 4. The Lawful Remedy to Tyranny, Workbook. Religion to claim the right to murder infidels. Free exercise is one of the biggest bats you can wield against government because no judge wants to touch it. It might be difficult to use if the Bible has nothing to say on the matter, such as the right to raw milk, unless you are creative. Note, if you follow free exercise, you can gain an exemption of law for yourself, but if others are having the same problem, it is not uniquely your problem.